While nations burned and economies collapsed across Europe, one country quietly built a fortune. Sweden, a nation officially neutral in the Second World War, did not simply survive the conflict. It emerged wealthier, stronger, and industrially primed for the future. The story of World War II is often told through the lens of battles won and lost, of empires rising and falling. But there is another story, one of calculated neutrality and economic pragmatism. Sweden's tale is not one of soldiers and trenches, but of iron ore, ball bearings, and the difficult choices a small nation must make when surrounded by giants at war. Sweden's policy of neutrality was not born in 1939. It was a long-standing tradition, rooted in the nation's desire to avoid entanglement in European conflicts. When war erupted, Prime Minister Per Albin Hansson declared Sweden's preparedness was good. The government was determined to keep the country outside the conflict. This was the foundation of every decision that followed. The primary goal was survival. Surrounded by the German Reich to the south, surrounded by the Soviet Union to the east, Germany invaded Denmark in 1940. Germany invaded Norway in 1940. Sweden found itself in an incredibly precarious position. Neutrality became a pragmatic tool for self-preservation, a tightrope that had to be walked with immense care. From 1939 to 1945, neutrality was constantly tested and redefined. It was not a rigid, idealistic stance. It was a fluid and adaptable strategy. The engine of Sweden's wartime economy was fueled by one crucial resource: high-grade iron ore, mined in the northern regions of Kiruna Gällivare. This ore was among the best in the world, essential for producing the high-quality steel needed for armaments. Germany's war machine had an insatiable appetite for it. German steel was used to build tanks, U-boats, artillery shells, rifles. Without a steady supply of Swedish iron ore, Germany's ability to wage a prolonged war would have been severely compromised. Recognizing this dependency, Sweden leveraged its geological gift into a powerful economic tool. The trade was simple. Sweden supplied the raw material, and Germany paid handsomely. Coal chemicals. Foreign currency that kept the Swedish economy afloat. The numbers tell a staggering story. Up to 10 million tons of iron ore were shipped from Sweden to Germany annually. That was a significant portion of Germany's total consumption. The ore was transported by rail from the northern mines to the Swedish port of Luleå on the Baltic Sea. In winter, when Luleå froze, shipments went to the Norwegian port of Narvik. The German invasion of Norway in 1940 was driven largely by the need to secure this supply route. For Sweden, continuing this trade was economic necessity and a strategy to appease Germany and avert invasion. These small, precision-engineered steel balls reduce friction in machinery indispensable for engines and aircraft tank submarines. SKF, Svenska Kullerfabriken, was the world leader and supplied both the Axis and the Allies. Germany relied heavily on SKF parts. The Allies launched bombing raids on German ball-bearing factories, increasing Germany's dependence on Swedish imports. This trade in iron ore and ball bearings placed Sweden in a morally complex position. Swedish materials contributed directly to the lethality and longevity of the Nazi war effort. Every tank that rolled across Europe, every plane in the Luftwaffe, likely contained Swedish steel or Swedish ball bearings. While Swedish leaders argued the trade was necessary for survival, they could not escape the reality that their economic prosperity was intertwined with the destructive power of the Third Reich. The profits flowing into Swedish banks were, in many ways, paid for by the conflict devastating the continent. Section 4. The lifelines of commerce, shipping and strategic transport. Keeping trade alive amidst a world war was a monumental challenge. Section 5. Building prosperity amidst chaos. The domestic economic boom. While the rest of Europe was ravaged by destruction, Sweden's domestic economy experienced a period of remarkable stability, and in some sectors, significant growth. The constant demand for its key exports, iron ore, steel, machinery, wood products, kept factories humming and workers employed. Unlike in countries directly involved in the conflict, Sweden did not have to divert its entire industrial base to military production or suffer from devastating bombing campaigns. This allowed for a continuity of economic life that was unique in wartime Europe. The war created a captive market for Swedish goods, and the government and private industry capitalized on this opportunity. The economic benefits were widespread. The high demand for exports led to full employment in key industries like mining, manufacturing, forestry. Section 6. A Balancing Act, Humanitarian Aid and Allied Trade. To counter the narrative that Sweden was merely a willing supplier to the Nazis, Sweden balanced economic dealings with humanitarian efforts and limited cooperation with the Allies. These actions preserved a semblance of neutrality and positioned Sweden for the post-war world. One celebrated example: Sweden sheltering refugees. The country became a safe haven for thousands fleeing Nazi persecution, Norwegians escaping German occupation, Finns displaced by the war with the Soviet Union, nearly the entire Jewish population of Denmark in 1943. The rescue of the Danish Jews in October 1943 is a major moral counterpoint. When news of deportation reached the Danish resistance, a massive spontaneous rescue operation was launched. Ordinary Danish citizens ferried over 7,000 Jews across the Øresund to safety. The Swedish government publicly announced it would accept all refugees. Swedish Coast Guard vessels assisted in the effort. That act, and the later work of Raoul Wallenberg in Budapest, helped shape a more compassionate image of Sweden. Sweden also maintained commercial and intelligence ties with the Allies. The German blockade restricted trade with the West, but safe conduct traffic allowed a trickle of essential goods. After 1943, as Allied victory seemed likely, Sweden discreetly cooperated with Allied intelligence. It shared information on German military movements. It shared information on industrial production. It shared information on naval activity in the Baltic Sea. Swedish intelligence helped Allies track German shipping. It provided weather data crucial for planning bombing raids. These balancing actions were part of a pragmatic foreign policy. Aid to refugees and covert assistance served multiple purposes. They were genuine humanitarian acts for some Swedes. They were also calculated diplomatic moves. They gave Sweden moral capital to deflect criticism of its trade with Germany. They acted as insurance to be seen as a friendly, if complicated, partner by the victors. Commerce, compassion, and cooperation, the essence of Sweden's strategy to navigate the war.